Well, this podcast's all about the biggest errors made by students and some of the biggest tips for the 70-mark question. The first thing that students always seem to look for is which category each source fits into. The best students realise that some sources have evidence that fits into more than one category. Before you even begin your essay, you should identify and highlight the key words from the question. These words should crop up often in your essays to show that you are referring back to the question and focusing on the question, and not just doing a general assessment of the sources. Students need to remember that if they possibly can, they should try to think of 3 categories for grouping the evidence. Evidence proving the hypothesis, evidence disproving the hypothesis, and evidence that points to a different interpretation altogether. Another thing to remember is that you're not asked to assess each source individually, or there'd be 5 different questions saying how far does source A agree with the hypothesis, and then how far does source B agree with the hypothesis, and so on. What you must do is see that there's a hypothesis there and see the bigger picture, and treat all of the evidence as one big basket of evidence. With this in mind, you must cross-reference. And to do that, to cross-reference the sources and check them against each other, you need to use comparing words. The mark scheme states that you must show that you have knowledge of the historical context. This means that you assess the sources by using your own knowledge to help you. For example, if a source comes from a speech that Joseph Goebbels made to an audience, you should be able to recognise that Goebbels was known for his skillful use of propaganda, and explain that he was chiefly responsible for indoctrinating the people in Nazi ideas. Your own knowledge should add to the development of your essay about the sources, but the essay should remain solely about the sources. And now for the biggie, the one that students find the hardest, the weight of evidence. You shouldn't believe everything that you hear or read, and I'm sure that you don't believe everything that people tell you. Sometimes you will suspect that they are incorrect because of your own knowledge of what they are talking about. Sometimes you might suspect that they are not giving a balanced, true picture of a topic because of who they are. History is a study of people. It's just people that were a long time ago. And therefore, you must consider the likelihood of different people providing a truthful picture. To do this, you must consider the provenance of the source and the source itself. For example, on a question paper about the degree of success that the Gestapo had, if you were confronted with a Gestapo report as one of the sources, you might expect that the weight of this evidence would be light, because the Gestapo might report favourably on themselves. But when you actually read the source, and find that in the report the Gestapo admit that they've been unable to stop communist activity in the factories, well, you might have expected the Gestapo to write a report that would be light in terms of weight of evidence, but if they're admitting their own problems, their own mistakes, or their own shortcomings, it gives that particular evidence significant weight. And so in summary, you should try to do the following things in your next 70-mark question.